All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our viewers. Welcome to Education USA's Virtual Week and Roadshow in East Asia and the Pacific. Today is day 3, and we are holding these sessions for 5 days in conjunction with International Education Week. My name is Myra Robles, and I'm the Education USA advisor from the U.S. Embassy in Bandar Sri Begawan, Brunei Darussalam. Welcome, everyone, and I will be kicking off today's session by talking about graduate programs in the United States of America. So before I start, I would just like to inform everyone that questions from the participants on our Facebook Live and as well as those who are in Zoom right now will only be entertained after the session is over. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat box and we will get right onto it as soon as the presentation is over. So again, welcome. And I shall now begin my presentation by giving you an overview of graduate programs in the United States of America. Okay. So let's start with the 5 steps. So today's session is actually step 1 of the 5 steps that Education USA offers to all students who intend to study in the US. And today is understanding step 1, your options if you intend to study or pursue your graduate study in the United States of America. And Education USA covers all the 5 steps, understanding your options, step 1, financing your studies, step 2, completing your application, step 3, applying for your visa, step 4, and step 5, preparing for your departure. So we have around 430 Education USA advising centers around the world. And of course, the US has 4,500 universities and colleges, of which 1,000 offer graduate programs. And out of the 1 million international students currently studying in the US, around 377,000 are international graduate students. So I've also indicated in my slide here that the official source of US higher education is no other than Education USA, and we always offer you unbiased, comprehensive, accurate information about US higher education opportunities. And our website is educationusa.state.gov. All right, so have you wondered what is a graduate student? So these are terminologies which may be different for those coming from an American system of education or a British system of education. In the American system of education, a graduate student is someone who has earned a bachelor's degree and intends to pursue additional education in a specific field. For those coming from the British system, they would term this as postgraduate, but it's basically the same. Right. Next, so what is graduate education? Graduate education is characterized by learning more about a specific subject. It is more self-directed compared to undergraduate study. And it's something that you would want to pursue and really passionate about. Maybe this reason maybe because it's a career move, you want to be promoted, you want to earn better, or for other reasons too. So that basically is a graduate student. All right? Okay. Next. So there are 2 main graduate degrees in the United States of America, and other systems as well. It is called the master's or the doctorate degree. So what is the difference? So a master's degree, basically, for example, if you are a business student and has had at least 1 or 2 years of work experience, you would want to first pursue a master's program, which will give you more in-depth information and training in a specialized field, like a master's in business administration, master's in fine arts, and others. So that's the next step after completing your undergraduate degree. On the other hand, if you are planning to pursue a doctoral degree, this prepares you more for a position where you might be teaching in a college or doing more in-depth research. So with both master's and doctoral degrees, there are two prongs that you can look into, or two options that you can look into. One is going through the academic route. The other one is going through a professional route. So let me just explain that some universities have both, academic and professional routes. And you might get confused, should I be doing a master's or a PhD in education, and there is EDD as well, a doctorate in education. So what is the difference? So for the academic route of either doing a master's or doctoral, this is really meant for people who want to be in research or teach at a university, become a college faculty. And for those choosing the professional route, such as the medical degree, for example, an MFA or Masters in Fine Arts or Masters in Social Work, this is really more for the profession that you put into practice. So another way of looking at it is the academic route are people who research and learn more knowledge, try to find new discoveries, and the professional route are the people who actually apply it in a practical situation. So that's one of the ways to distinguish the academic and professional route. So how long does it take you to study for a master's degree? So in the US, it will take you 1 to 3 years for a master's degree. And for a doctoral degree, it will take you a little longer, 4 to 6 years of study. And now there's actually a plethora of choices for the master's program. There are executive programs too that are shorter, which is 1 year. And of course, the traditional programs that would have you to at least complete 2 to 3 years of study. So for the doctoral degree, obviously, this entails so much, a lot of research involved, coursework as well, and you completing a comprehensive exam and an original research, plus a submission of a dissertation, which you have to defend. So I would just like to ask you, are you ready to pursue your master's or doctoral degree in the US? That is a very good question you can ask yourself. Okay, next. So what are the graduate programs offered in the US? So we did mention we have around 1,000 US universities and colleges that offer graduate programs. And this is a wide range. In general, definitely STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are included, plus the arts, education, of course, medical degree, engineering, nursing, and in the fields of public policy, political science, and international relations as well. So there's a lot to choose from, and it can get daunting and confusing for a student on really finding out what he or she would like to pursue for a master's or doctorate program, and we will get to that as well later in the session. Okay. So, all right. So you saw the list of courses, graduate courses that are offered in the US. And one of the most important things to keep in mind is that when choosing a university in the United States of America, a lot of people will always look at rankings first, which is the top 10 university for a master's in philosophy, for example, or master's in public policy and management. It's one of you may consider looking at the rankings, but most importantly, you would want to have a master's or doctorate degree that is accredited, one, recognized by the US Department of Education, and second, it is regionally accredited, institutionally accredited, and programmatically accredited. So if you look at the slide, there is a website under the Council for Higher Education Accreditation, or chia.org, where you can easily navigate and look for schools and check their accreditation status. So you would want to make sure that the university that you enroll at is recognized, and the degree that you receive will be recognized anywhere role that you choose to work in the future. Of course, there's the US Department of Education website as well that will give you that information. All right, so this is an example. I know this is very text heavy. These are examples of the programs, graduate programs offered in the US, and the corresponding programmatic accrediting body, which you can find on the website of CHEA, CHEA.org. So for example, I think the most common I get when I advise students are students wanting to do business, a master's in business and finance, or doing an MBA. And they would get into websites and type, best MBA school in the US, best MBA school in New York, for example. Or it doesn't have to be the US, best MBA school in the UK or Australia. And I always tell them that, what is most important is that you're searching on the right website that has the list of accredited, programmatically, institutionally, and regionally accredited universities and colleges in the world. And this is really a first step if you are researching your options and looking at which universities you should apply to in the US. So this is the list. This webinar will be recorded as well, so you can go back to this slide for reference if you are intending to apply in any of these programs listed here, and go to the corresponding accreditation websites to search for your university. Okay. All right. So let's take a moment to reflect on whether, I'm assuming that everyone here would love to go to graduate school. I would too. And there are some questions you really need to ask yourself. Do you want to do this now? Do you want to pursue your graduate study now? What type of academic or professional degree are you seeking? What type of learning experience are you looking for? Are you looking for a more research-based master's degree, or more of a coursework approach? Um, are there people impacted by this decision? Do you have family with you who will be traveling with you to study in the US? How will this affect you financially? And also looking at, options available for you. Are you going to be doing this as a full-time program? Or will you be doing this as part-time, which will take you slightly longer than the usual number of years to complete your master's or doctorate degree? Or would you be doing this online, which is the current case now for most universities, given the pandemic? Or would you be preferring a hybrid type of approach when you do your master's or doctorate? So these are questions you'd want to ask yourself. And if you are ready and if you have a plan, this year is the right year for you to start planning. Okay. So what are the tips for you? Okay. So with the students who approach me wanting to pursue the master's or doctorate degree in the United States, planning early is really key. Planning early and strategically, and I'll explain what I mean by strategically. 18 months prior to you starting your graduate program in the US, you need to know what the requirements are, what the application process is, understand what your end goal is. Are you going to have a change in career? Do you plan to get promoted? Are you planning to, be a full-time researcher after this? Are you planning to teach more in the academe? Are you mentally and financially ready? Graduate school is costly, and there is an investment that you have to make. And planning early allows you to be more informed of the options, for example, on funding availability and ways for you to find scholarships or grants or fellowships if you do choose to study in the US. Now, there are exams as well that you have to be aware of, such as the GRE, which is the Graduate Record Examination, which is what most US universities will require you to have a GRE score um, for most of the programs. Now, for specific programs, such as an MBA or those looking more into business related graduate study, the GMAT is an exam that you would have to take. Both the GRE and GMAT are available to take online. It's a home test that's available. Not in all countries, though some countries do not have that available online yet. An English exam, such as the TOEFL, will be required from an international student. Other English tests, such as the IELTS and Duolingo, are also accepted by some US universities, but you would have to check on that too. Now, for those looking into becoming lawyers, future lawyers, you'll have to take an exam called the LSAT. And those wanting to pursue a medical degree or become a medical practitioner in the future would have to take the MCAT. So these exams are the official websites for you to register online to take these tests, and make sure that you register early and review for these exams as well, because you'd have to pay for these exams and you don't want to waste your money by not getting the right score that you intend that is required for your entry to a university for your graduate study. Another challenge for some students is that they don't have a very clear understanding on credential evaluation of academic qualifications, which means if you're coming from a non-US education system, which is what most international students are coming from, your credentials, your undergraduate bachelor's degree would have to be evaluated by a credential agency such as WES or NACES, and there are others as well. And what the credential evaluators do is they give the credential equivalence of your local degree, the non-US degree, to the US degree. So this is one of the ways for admissions to assess your academic readiness, and also whether you'd be eligible for scholarship or funding for graduate school. So plan early and strategically, know the end goal, be mentally and financially ready, prepare to take your exams and review, and have your credentials evaluated early. And these credentials are usually valid for 2 years. Your exam results, such as the GRE and GMAT, for 5 years. I see some questions here, but I will answer it later on. Okay. Next. So I'd like to also share with you ways in which you can get study in the US for your graduate study through the Fulbright Scholar Program. Here in Brunei, we have Fulbright Master's Program, and we will only award it to one Bruneian every single year. So that's something you may want to do and visit your US Embassy website in your home country. We have other short-term programs that will allow you to have a feel and understand how it is to have that experiential learning in the US, such as the International Visitor Leadership Program, the Study of the US Institutes, or SUSI, and the Edward R. Murrow Program for reporters and journalists. So all of these programs and more are available at eca.state.gov, our education and cultural exchange website under the State Department, right? Okay, so these are some interesting statistics. I'll start with this IG post from our US Embassy website, stating that the US has invested over $1.7 billion in education and exchange programs with our ASEAN partners. So you really know that the US is fully invested in educating not just its American citizens, but educating the world as well and strengthening our relationship. The US spends, if not the most, for its education, compared to other countries in the world. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of international students want to pursue higher education in the United States of America. We have cutting edge technology, um, uh, you know, Nobel laureates, Fulbrighters, and Pulitzer Prize winners teaching you at your university, and the quality is just incomparable with what other countries can offer in terms, especially in graduate school programs, and you want to be in that environment. Okay, so I have some statistics here from the Council of Graduate Schools, a survey which they conducted in 2019, which indicates that there is a 3% increase in the application counts from prospective international students, a 4% increase in first-time enrollment of international students in the US, 75% of which are pursuing a master's and certificate program, and 25% for their doctoral programs. And I have more fun information and statistics to show you. Okay, so what does this chart show us? So this is again from the same source, the CGS, Council of Graduate Schools, another survey done last year, which shows the most popular fields of study in the US taken up by, pursued by international students. STEM, mathematics and computer science, especially coming top with 26%, engineering in second, and of course our famous business degrees, especially entrepreneurship, where the US is really known for, are the top fields of study that international students pursue in the US. So from this statistics alone, you will know what the strengths are if you are planning to pursue postgraduate school in the US. And these numbers also show that, international students would pursue these subjects or this graduate degrees because they know the US is very strong in these areas. Next. Okay, so another interesting statistic, Asia, including East Asia and the Pacific, sends or enrolls in our graduate program the most, the highest number, 75% of all the graduate enrollment for the 2019 admission cycle come from Asia. And it is not a wonder that China, again, is the top sending country for graduate schools in the US, followed by India, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. That is in Asia. And it's great that we have this session today. Okay, so here are some resources, very useful resources for you to look into when you have the time to search for graduate schools, understand what the application process is, and how to find ways to fund your education, graduate school education in the US. Okay, so just very quickly, I know I have 5 more minutes to go. What has been the impact of COVID-19 on graduate education? Definitely is still a priority for US universities to have grant aid assistantship and financial support available for international students wanting to pursue graduate school. Universities continue to support basic needs of all graduate students in the US. And the support is even greater for graduate faculty to teach and mentor their students virtually. So now we're open for questions. All right, and I'm looking at the chat box now. I will stop sharing so I can see how much time I have left. Okay, and I shall return to my Zoom session. Okay. All right, looking at the questions now. All right, okay. All right. I'm a master from Li Zhangzhu to all panelists. I'm a master student in a program that is teaching English, but I'm not a graduate right now. I'm in my final year. So I still have to take the English test or not. Okay, so you are taking your master's program in the US. If you're taking your program in the US and you've done your undergraduate degree in the US, an English test may not be necessary, but if you're definitely, if you've done your undergraduate study in a school outside of the US, there are some exceptions, for example, Canada, UK, and Australia, but definitely you would have to take your English test, the IELTS. There's some universities that would waive the English test, such as the TOEFL and IELTS or Duolingo, but it's always best to check directly with the university or college. And contact, number one, contact your Education USA advisor at your home country, and they will be able to guide you better. Okay, would you be able to share the list of scholarship and funding? GMAT is very time consuming. It spent like 3 to 4 years. Okay, though the exam is just 4 hours, it'll take you 3 to 4 years. So the Funding US Study website has is a very good resource for you to look for funding or financial aid for your graduate study, and I would recommend for you to visit that website. Go to your US Embassy page as well and look for graduate school scholarship opportunities there. I mentioned the Fulbright program, and there are others too. Visit the eca.state.gov website. Also, of course, definitely consult your EduSA advisor. The Education USA website too has a list of scholarships which they update once every 2 weeks. So we have our scholarships for both undergraduate and graduate programs available there. So visit the website. Okay, and then, okay, we have 3 questions. This is from Luke privately. Okay, we have 3 tips for CV resume and video essay. I'm enrolled in a master's program taught in English. Do I still need to take English proficiency tests where I can find the list of scholarship for graduate programs? Okay, so I'm not going to talk in detail about your CV, your resume, or your video essay because our next session will be session 3, in fact. We'll talk about applying to US graduate programs. And we have, the international admissions officers from these graduate schools who will give you a more in-depth explanation on how you can best prepare your CV, your resume, and a video essay. And your second question is, you're enrolled in a master's program taught in English. Okay, so this is, again, this would depend on the university that you're applying to, but most US universities, especially if you are in a master's program, although it's taught in English, but it is not in a country where English is the first language, you may still need to take your IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo English proficiency test. Where can I find the list of scholarship for graduate programs? Again, there's Funding US Study. You can search, select your course, search which part of the US you want to study, and it will automatically populate scholarships or graduate programs available for you. Okay. Okay, in Hong Kong. All right. Could you give me some tips? Okay, the tips will come in session 3, so stay tuned. You have to stay on for our program. Okay, how to join the Zoom call for the video statement. Okay, stay in this webinar and We will have a 10-minute break prior to the next session, which is why you should pursue your master's or PhD in the US. And this will be followed by applying to its graduate programs. And the last session will be a video tour of graduate schools. So keep yourself tuned into this webinar and you'll get all your questions answered.